welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 away from the caves, away from those start pens. And the front of this Group 1, big solid phalanx of riders. Behind you can just see riders in 1s and 2s just being distanced and having to regain the group.
Well, as we do that, Maria Marin puts a kick in over the bridge, and she's put a small gap in on the group behind. The group now motoring to close it down, but it's one long stretch in the Category 1 race at the moment.
They are the Category 4 riders at 23.1. The rider who is absolutely motoring across the gap from Category 3 to Category 4, who set up in front, is Mary Joyce Coke. 10.8 watts per kilo, 11.3. This is not just rolling through. This isn't a squeeze. This is a full-on attack. What a move, and look at the distance. Who's traversed the sections clearly, who got themselves across the FRB section, who has got themselves into position with something left in their legs. It's Bulgarian and the gradient goes up. It's going into the red zone as their legs start to explode, but Bulgarian has got it. She's got the power. Can they answer her? Speed is trying to come. She's not going to get it. Bulgarian takes the win here. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 3, the final chance for our riders to get that verified ride in before we head into next week's Sunday Race Club finals. We've got an absolute cracker today. I'm really looking forward to putting words to the action. I'm here in the studio. I'm Matt Payne.
And I'm Emma Martin, here with Matt today, and looking forward to this women's race.
It's going to be a stormer because we have one of my favourite courses for the women's competition. Emma, take us through the course in Alula.
Well, we are indeed in Alula today for the women's race. 35 kilometres of racing today and a gradient of 425 metres of climbing. So 2 climbs today on the course. And as you can see in front of you, they are not necessarily straightforward. So the first climb comes quite early at 4.3 kilometres. It is not particularly steep, but it will start to ignite the racing. The main climb, our Category 3 climb today, the checkered flag, is at the top. It is indeed 4.8 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 5.4%. But take a look at that gradient because this is a technical climb. There are some exceptionally steep sections on this climb, and they kick and they drop and they roll. So it is a really interesting, punchy climb to take the women to the finish today.
And along the way, we have our 7 segments now for those of you who maybe haven't seen this before. And a quick reminder for those of you that have, the segments are timed individually. They are a time check through each of those segments. And this is something that gives us information, new information, and the riders information, but it doesn't result in any prizes or points, unlike things like Tune Up Tuesday or the championships, where they are more relevant for points rather than just information. Now, let's take a look at our riders. Our 4 categories that are distinguished by colour. Category 1 in yellow, Category 2 in green, Category 3 in blue, but Category 4 will be our first starters. They are in red. Let's take a look at our riders. And a big field once again. Emma, a very growing field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fabulous to see the growth in these fields, particularly Category 4, which is the newest category introduced. So 22 riders on the start sheets today, and there are some strong riders in here. Lenore is in here, Lytton, Holweller, Kirchner, Giuliano, Almansori, Dallasay, Vink, Catania, Ospina. We've got some really strong riders, and this category, Matt, is getting more and more competitive.
It is, and that's one of the great things with having 4 different categories in here. Now, our riders lined up and ready to go. Let's see these riders away.
So we are in with Rona Tanglian as the countdown continues. This is the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are qualifier number 3 in June as the Category 4 riders are up and out of the start pen today. So as our group of Category 4 women sweep onto the course proper, the group are away and out of the start pens, and it's Tanya Holweller who is leading the charge from the front.
And you just see Tanya Holweiler there just being swept up into that bunch. Great way to get that kick off the start, then drop in with the group, ensures you're not going to get left behind and have to kick hard to come back in. And that is one of the key things here. As the groups get bigger and as our fields increase in size, it becomes more and more important to make the lead group from the start, because the draft effect, that sitting in and saving energy, is going to have more and more relevance. So making sure you get off that start block very quickly, really important to get into that group. You can see riders just coming in and joining, making sure they are in with that pack. Now, Emma, this is some people would say the base category, and it is a standard category, really, isn't it? And then we move up into 3, 2, and 1 in terms of levels. And we're talking about power, we're talking about speed, but they're incredibly competitive because we have those 4 different categories.
Yeah, and so the 4 categories, you are right, Matt, are split by ability. But there is a lot of variation and a lot of movement between the categories. So we see riders progressing from Category 4 to Category 3 to Category 2, and movement between the categories. But one of the things to note is, whilst we might say this is the base category, these women are capable of riding an 8-day stage race of 50 kilometres a day. You know, there is nothing basic about Category 4.
Yes, I think base in level rather than basic for sure. And I've got to say that the skills that are shown by the riders, their ability to draft, and you know, if this was, for example, a road race where you maybe have 4 different categories within your national federation around the globe, then you would see the riders learning in Category 4, then moving the way up and through as they develop more skills. And that's still true here, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of nations have a point-based system where you start, you know, in Category 4 as a road racer, you move to Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1, and then Elite. And that is based on a point-scoring system. Here, you know, we've got 4 different categories with 4 different abilities, and we are also seeing a similar movement between categories as riders enhance their skills, enhance their technique, and enhance their ability and their strength and power and racing discipline, and then they move through categories. So for example, you know, we have she said, looking at my Category 3 list, Burnett in there, Coking in there, Gallego, Marin and Agudelo, all who started in Category 4 and have now progressed to Category 3.
And that just shows you that progression comes, and it can be because you're on the comeback from anything from having time off from illness to being on holidays to taking some time out of racing. You may be on a comeback,
or to starting bike racing from a different discipline. We see a lot of riders come into esports from different disciplines, from skating, from skiing, from jiu-jitsu, from all sorts of activities, and they come into cycling later in life.
So riders in Category 4 starting their journey on today's race, 2 kilometres in, and they are our first group away. Our group separated by 5 minutes on the start time, and you can just see Gina de Gracia leading this out as she goes in towards segment number 1 here. So starting on the first of those time segments, but down on the start line, it is Category 3, and they are in the blue. And again, some of those riders that Emma just mentioned moving up from Category 4 to Category 3 in this group. So Emma, take us through the riders. Anybody in particular catch your eye?
Yeah, so 16 riders on the start sheets today in Category 3. And as we mentioned, we have riders who have progressed. Agudelo is in here. Claudia Marin is in here. Burnett and Coking, Pelagio, some strong riders in here. Montoya is in here as well on the start sheets as well today. So is Pablo. So I'm really looking forward to this racing in Category 3.
So am I. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who can excel on this course and who can sit in now. It's a smaller group, so less bunch of fates, but we've got riders in theory capable of more speed, more power. Let's see who's going to take it out. So here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, our Category 3 riders lined up. They know they're into that final countdown. They need to start getting ready to accelerate out from underneath the yellow start gantry here as away we go. This is the time to make it count. No more dress rehearsals. This isn't a tune-up Tuesday. This isn't a wind-down Wednesday. This is a full-on Sunday Race Club. And we have prizes for our top 5 riders, and all of our riders will want to get a qualifying ride in to qualify for the finals that take place next week.
Yeah, so whilst we anticipate the finals next week, we still have qualifier race number 3 to go, and that is now underway for Category 4 and Category 3. Category 2 and Category 1 are still in the start pens warming up as the Category 3 riders progress into this sweeping bend here. There's a little bit of a stretch on the group at the moment, but all coming back together, and now everybody out clear of that start pen.
They are indeed, and we do have a little bit of a kick even before we start the first of the climbs here today at 4.3. In fact, halfway there is a little bit of a step up that the riders take, and that is the thing about routes. Now, if you are new to cycle sport and you've not seen a course profile like we've shown, now you might just think, oh yeah, that's 2 climbs that are marked, that's all there is. That's definitely not the case, and we do often see, in fact, more climbing across the rest of the route quite often than there is in the climbs on occasions. Today, that's not the case because this is relatively flat in between. There's not very much flat ground, but it does roll in between. But you do find that the categorized climbs are not the only climbs out on route, so it does make a difference to how the riders race and ride and how that then translates when they're out on course.
Yeah, it does indeed. So today's course, 425 metres of climbing, over 35 kilometres. Now, around 310 metres of that comes in our 2 main climbs today. The rest of that climbing comes on the rest of the course, and the first kicker mat on this course comes at around 2.5k, and it's over 9%, so it is a really steep, nasty little kicker. Our Category 4 riders are up and over that, and they are all still together. Well, I say that, we've got one rider off the back of the group, and you can see that on the top right hand corner on the right side of the screen. So we have the main group in red, and then we've got one rider just lost contact with the back of that group and now just closing in and coming back to the group as we speak.
So just going to see them join. There we go. They come in and through. It was Becker who's come in, and you can just see flying in through that group. The effort that it requires to get onto the group will often take you through, and just getting this dialed in just to sit in and get that pace right is really tricky.
And that is a technique we were talking about right at the beginning of the show. We talked about the fact that you needed to learn technique and you needed to learn how to ride the platform. And that is indeed a really great example of what we mean by technique on an esports platform. The ability to come back to a group, not to snowball over the front, and then to modulate your pace so that you sit in the middle of the group and benefit the draft rather than go over the top and then go out the back.
And I don't want to spoil the documentary for anybody, but there is also, of course, a great bit in Unchained in the Tour de France documentary about actually the mind games that you might play with your opponent when you are in a little bit of a group and with a chance of the win, and what are you actually doing. And it could be that some of our riders are actually throwing a bit of a blinder, acting like they are maybe less experienced when actually they're really experienced, just like riders may be dummying in terms of power.
No, I wouldn't be doing that at all.
Mind games is all when it comes to racing, and it's definitely a lot of it's about the speed and power. Now, Category 3 going into that same first segment as Category 2 are all ready to go. Emma, take us through this race field here, and we've got some very familiar names.
We do indeed. So Category 2 in the green jerseys today, 20 riders on the start sheets, and boy, what a list of riders. Ribaudo is here, Carmona, Arrayas, Quintero, Embring, Parra, Botero, Sanchez, Ochoa, Ruiz, Cabanatan, Barragan, Miller, Tan, Acevedo, Gonzalez, Walkenhurst, Pina, Hermassen, and Lopez. And yes, I have just read the entire start sheet because you know what? This is a seriously good field, and I think the top 5 today could be anybody's.
Right. Okay, there we are. That's Emma well and truly sitting on the fence because of the quality of the race field. They're lined up and ready to set off.
And as we watch the final countdown in with Pina, as the legs are turning, we are about to start the Category 2 race on the Sunday Race Club. So away go our Category 2 women. They are all up and out of that start pen as they turn onto the course proper. They're being led out by Anna Embring at the moment as Ochoa just goes up and over the top. So the group now out of the start pen. They are clearing up to pace really quickly. So 36 kph within the first 20 plus seconds. Absolutely moving with intention out of the start pen today.
And great to see these Category 2 racers very quickly. As you can see, the group is stretched out. And this is another thing that's very similar between riding on the road. And you see that again in that documentary that's just come out. Really inspiring, really makes you want to get on the bike. But you can see the shape of the group, the way that it rolls, because you see some different camera angles, almost reminiscent of esports on the documentaries that you maybe don't see on during live coverage, where you see the different angles that we get to see here. Things like inside the peloton, inside the bunch, from the top, from a camera angle, from a different helicopter angle. And you can see the shape at the moment. It's still a relatively long line. This is not bunched up. It's not one big ball or bunch of riders. The longer, the thinner it is, generally the more pressure that's being applied and the higher the pace as everybody gets under pressure. But we are seeing the riders taking a little while to settle. We are currently at 0.8 of a K, and very different to last week where we had a massive kicker very quickly in.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because Jenny Sanchez is keeping the pace quite high on the front of this Category 2 group, around 4 watts per kilo at the moment, and she's not backed off. So normally we would see, well, shall I rephrase that? Often we would see a strong pace at the start pen and then a quick settling down. Some riders like a really hard start, other riders like a much easier start, and you often see 1 or 2 riders off the back of the group because they're taking a steadier start and they're not having a high hit out the start pen. Now, interesting to see here, Brittany Litton on Category 4 is going for it quite early. So 5, nearly 6 kilometres now into the Category 4 race. Litton now with a 7-second gap on this group behind. This is the first climb of the course, and Litton now nearly at the top. She's put an attack in and she's gained 9 seconds now on this chase group behind.
And at the moment, there's no concerted response. The pace is lifted for sure, but I'm sure they think, well, it's only 6K into 35 kilometers. There's still plenty of time to bring riders back, but it can be dangerous. You let a solo rider go, and every now and then they'll make it into the finish and take away top honors and the top prizes. And remember that each of our categories have their own prize list from 5th, 4th, 2nd, and 1st places, so each of those getting lots of points and prizes, and of course they have to be verified. So of course at the moment on the results page, all the times, all of the results are live. That will then become unverified. It'll be the basically the unofficial results, then it'll become verified, and that'll be the final results. So 3 categories away: categories 4, 3, and 2. Category 1, the category with the highest prize fund, is the category that are waiting, and they're down on that start line. And we have a really classy field in category 1 today. It is, in fact, I think by my rough calculations, aka how many sheets of paper they fill, this is how I measure things, believe me, is the biggest race field, but I'm sure Emma can tell us much more accurately.
Oh, it is indeed the biggest race field. And let me just say, Matt, 106 women on the start sheets across all 4 categories today. A growing Sunday Race Club community. Now, Category 1, 48, I'm going to say that again, 48 riders on the start sheets in Category 1 today. Maria Marin is here, Geraldo Arrayas, Rebecca Gilson is on the start sheets today, so is Engström, Bardeskaya is here, Manshandi, Estrada, Van der Velden, Biarhead, Koinstinen, Sanchez, Quevedo, Fua, Tejeros. Again, and we're seeing women come up from Category 2, which is what I'm loving. So Sinelli, Antico, Garioni, Barco, Reynard, Pulgarin, and Molina all coming up from Category 2 into Category 1. And you know what? Riding with riders who are faster than you only makes you better.
I'm sure you've got that from somewhere. Right, our Category 1 riders are lined up and ready to go. It is qualifier number 3. It is the last chance saloon to get in your second qualifying ride for those finals. We're into the final countdown before all of our riders are out on course here in Alula on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and our riders are go. This is the time to make it count. Now these riders have to show what they're made of, because today is that last chance, and of course they will want to put some serious power down. They will want to show just what they are capable of and maintain their position up in Category 1, where the biggest prize money is.
Look at the size of that group out the start pen, and look at the stretch on that group out the start pen, as Rebecca Gilson is the rider at the front of this pack at the moment, ensuring that this is really motoring. 43 kilometers per hour in the first 30 seconds. This is up to pace and rolling.
It certainly is. This is very, very fast start. You can just see that there are a few people starting to fracture off the back. There are a few people not staying with this group on the way in and through. Now, the riders making the way up here that you can just see coming into this long right-hand bend. We're at just over half a kilometre covered, and the riders will still be getting the field pin in. They've probably been out warming up on the turbo, making sure that it's all rolling smoothly. And one of the key things to remember is it takes about 10 minutes for most people, smart bikes and turbo trainers, to start giving consistent data. Because basically all the oil, all the bearings, everything needs to get warmed up and get up to temperature. So it all needs to be moving consistently. And consistent data is actually the key to many things on MyWhoosh, including getting your results verified. So really key, guys. If you come in and jumping on, make sure, not just because you need to get your body warmed up, you actually need to get your kit warmed up as well. Really does make a difference. So make sure you get those 10 minutes in, whether you're going to ride on a tune-up Tuesday or you're going to be out and racing on the Sunday Race Club.
Oh, personally, I would recommend more than 10 minutes warm-up before you hit a Category 1 race.
Well, you know, some people don't have that luxury, says the man guilty of the most lazy warm-up ever.com. Although that might have to be revised in light of my shocking performances recently out on the bike, where it's taken me nearly an hour to get warmed up.
This group of Category 1 women, there's no shocking performances here, because Melina is at the front with Santiago, Antico, Ambiarhead and Quevedo are all in there, and this group is moving and moving well. We've got a couple of riders just distance. Now, just a note, all new riders join Category 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and that is regardless of ability. Now, the reason for that is because you will need to race for a number of races before the AI and verification process can take place and you are allocated to the correct category.
And that is about recording the data.
It is indeed. It's about recording the data, verifying the data, and then the allocation to the correct category takes place.
And one of the ways that you can speed up that process is actually to jump on and a race on a tune-up Tuesday. Because when you race, when you ride on the platform, and you show us what we can do, one of the key metrics that we're looking at is, are you doing something that you've never done before? If you ride all the time at 100 watts, and you can never produce more than 120, and you suddenly produce 1,000 watts in the sprint, I was giggling, but you know, if I was riding along just having a poodle, it might be a 100 watt poodle, and it might be a 2,000 watt kick if I was feeling really, really good. And that would suddenly flag me up as being suddenly something's gone very, very wrong or weird, or it's not consistent. So going out and racing and showing regularly what you can do is key. So we do see people jumping on the tune-up Tuesdays to do that, and it is a key way to show the team to get the results in and show that you can put the power down.
Well, and whilst the prize money on the Sunday Race Club is phenomenal in the women's race, more than 40 riders took prize money home last month. Tune Up Tuesday is a bag of goodies.
It is. So there are prizes. So it's a points-based competition where the segments, unlike today about time, actually count. Now, really interesting to see that I was just looking at the segments, and Angie Parra going through segment number 1 rolled through with the bunch. In fact, Category 2 were the slowest group through so far. Then Category 3 and the fastest group through segment number 1 were actually Category number 4. That is how it's worked. It's gone the reverse way around. So category number 4 started fastest, then 3, then 2, which is the opposite of what we'd expect. But clearly, Angie Parra, not content with that, has decided time to go down the road. And we know Angie always a consistent. Speaking of consistent data, she's consistent tactics. She'll go hard from the start. She's gone clear. Category 1, well, they are currently at 2.7k, so they are partway through segment number 1. So we do expect to see a faster time, but it's not always the case, is it, Emma?
No, it's not indeed. And different races. So there are 4 different races on screen today. And we do indeed see 4 different sets of tactics very regularly. And sometimes category 1, whilst you expect them to be the quickest riders, are the riders who take a slower start and the race underway in the latter stages. Sometimes we've seen other categories top the leaderboards in the segment right the way through to segment 5 or segment number 6, and then we see category 1 progress. It very much depends on the tactics in the individual race.
It does indeed, and quite often professional races and elite races will start slower and finish faster. Now, through the finishing point of segment number 1 go our category number 1 riders. So they've just made their way in and through the end of segment number 1. And they will find their times checked and recorded. Don't forget, of course, all of the results at the end of the race will still be unofficial until we get those verified, and that will be probably prior to the finals. Now, here we go. I'm just having a look at the screens here. Currently still showing Liberty Dallasay as our fastest rider going through, and I'm just scrolling down my timing screen here, and it's off the screens that you're seeing, and it's probably going to be just below it, but I think it's going to be 13th, the first of our category 1 riders. So further down, in fact, so all of our category 4 riders, well done guys, you set the fastest times through segment number 1. Absolutely amazing stuff. And had this been Tune Up Tuesday, it would mean that the top 10 riders, they'd all got points.
Well, let's just put this into context, shall we? 64 riders within 5 seconds of the fastest time, right the way across all of the categories. So a pretty similar start pace for all 4 categories today, but this is category number 1 that we're in with at the moment, and it is a huge pack of riders being led out by BR Head here. They're coming up for 4 kilometers of racing, but further down the road, and this is category number 4 on the right hand side of your screen. They are current leaders on the road at the moment. They started first. There's a big group of riders there. We've got a number of different races going on here, and this is the lighting up now. The touch paper has been lit by Gilson in this category 1 race. She's coming into that first climb of the day. It's 2.4 kilometers. It's got an average gradient just shy of 2%, but Gilson is obviously up for this today. She's been known to time trial away from the field before, and she is utilizing the run into this climb to kick hard.
Now, can Gilson do this? There needs to be a response behind. Some of these riders will know that Gilson of old. Some of these riders have moved up categories. Some of them will only know by reputation. And it's interesting to see that Karut Quevedo is now leading the charge here. She knows that you cannot give Gilson any kind of distance. If the Gilson Express is leaving the station, you have to jump on board fast, or you're going to get left in its dust behind, stood in the tracks and going, well, we missed that one. We better just wait for the next one because we're not going to catch it now. And that is the issue that Quevedo has got. She's got to put in a big move to get across. But if she joins Gilson, you've got Gilson and Quevedo, both very strong riders.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got a large number of new riders actually in this category 1 pack, and riders that have joined over the last few months, particularly because of the MyWhoosh Championships. Now, Rebecca Gilson has not been with the Sunday Race Club for a while. She has been out and about and doing other things, and now she's dropping back in. So some of the riders in this category, Matt, will not have raced with Gilson before. Others, like Quevedo, know exactly what Gilson can do.
Yeah, which is a lot. Let's face it. Rebecca Gilson, one of our regular riders, who's very, very strong. Now, good to see Mina Koistonen, very aware of this and looking to push on here, being joined by Antica. So 2 riders who've really moved up the category, and they are not wanting to let this go. Meanwhile, you've got Catherine Ford now coming to join the party at 6.7 watts per kilo. Catherine, one of our regulars on here. Always great to see what Catherine's been up to out on the roads, out on the bike, but also seeing her out and racing here. One of our very, very strong individual riders, and the rider who, again, will know the danger of letting Gilson down the road. And got to remember, no matter how strong a rider is, they can always be beaten if you work together, because it's sheer simple physics when you come to the race. But they're now not on their own, because our leading group of riders is now a trio of talent, a triumvirate of talent, to quote a Hugh Porterism, the great commentator who I cut my teeth working with. Alicia Antico, Rebecca Gilson, Karut Quevedo now all together. So that is our 3 riders at the front. And they're just making their way in through the start of segment number 2.
Well, talking about triumphant Mina Quingston, a triathlete on the world level. Ooh, on an esports platform. It was a lovely link. Thank you very much indeed. Interesting to see utilising esports as part and parcel of that training and racing program.
Yeah, and that's what's great to see so many people doing that. And of course, if you do jump on MyWhoosh, don't forget loads and loads of training programs written by some absolutely class coaches out there. Kevin Poulton, one of the regular coaches with Matt Smithson's regular competitors and riders on the platform, but also regularly working with the MyWhoosh team as in terms of setting up the racing and the dynamics of that. But Kevin at the moment has spent the last few weeks preparing the riders on the UAE Emirates team, the UAE team, for the Tour de France. So been doing some work in the mountains, and actually I think that's been paying off, because there was a win on the stage of the Tour de Suisse, I think just yesterday, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that, because the race results at the moment are coming in thick and fast.
Well, talking about thick and fast, 6.25 kilometres now for our Category 1 women. The group is still large and it's still rolling strongly. So currently sitting just shy of 30 kph. They are at the top of the first climb. It is still slightly uphill as they head towards the end of segment number 2.
So segment number 2 is another of our 1K segments. So 1K long, 1 kilometre, 1,000 metres to cover. And the fastest time was set by Angie Para coming through here. We saw her on the attack earlier. Who's going to have the fastest time? Will it still be Angie Para, or will our Category 1 riders have gone through quicker? Well, we wait to find out. And as we wait, just interesting to see this group is sort of reformed as a bigger bunch. It is a compact group once again here, and some of our very familiar names in here. People like Elodie Reynard, another rider who has moved up from Category 2 to Category 1 in here. Now, here come the results, and it shows. It is Anna Molino, another of our Category 1 riders, up there with Reynard. Up at the top of the standings, you can see 0.7 covering the top 12 riders there, and that shows that they have absolutely been motoring. Now the fastest time, a 1:44, and that has really blown away Angie Para's 1:59, so going through almost quarter of a minute faster, and that basically shows that they were responding to that attack, closing that gap down. So the action coming, a real good snapshot of what is happening in the races. The nearest rider to our Category 1 riders, Angie Para, going through, but people like Acevedo and Cabanatan and Quintero in Category 2 also racing hard. Category 3 and 4 currently holding about the same pace, but we're seeing some action in Category 4 again, as we would expect. All these riders, they want to put a good performance, and it's really important to know how the courses feel at race pace. It's very different to just riding around. You can go ride a course and it will feel very easy. You go race it, go push yourself over the limit, and it will feel very different and much harder.
And those attacks that we saw on that first climb all now brought back together again, because all of our groups are together. And interesting to see there is, I'm just looking at the numbers there and trying to do a bit of quick maths, but our Category 4 race field at 15.4 kilometres, around 7 kilometres down the road from our Category 1 race field. So Giraldo is here, Pulgarin, Vink, De Gracia, Dallace, Lytton is here, Hoella is here, Bereka is here. These riders all in a tight group at the moment. They are now nearly half an hour into racing, and you can see there is a descent coming up, and it is a pack of Category 4 riders. Chasing them is a pack of Category 3 riders, a little bit more stretched down the road, and you can see that from those top right-hand corners of those two split screens, whilst Category 4 is a tight bunch on the road. Category 2, the blue jerseys stretched now, all coming back together.
So riders are racing well at the moment out on course, and I was quite liking the fact that for a change it's Emma who is struggling with the mask despite the extra covers. Anybody that doesn't know, I think we just rock up and do this. We generally start about 4 to 5 hours before the show actually starts, is when the first coffee is on to get us up and rolling, to make sure that we get all of the research, we know what all our riders are doing, make sure all the tech works, and we actually sound slightly human by the time we do the show. And wherever you're watching, thank you very much for joining us. Please do hit the subscribe button, and you can catch up with the Sunday Race Club every single time we go live. Really do appreciate everybody watching, and of course please do get in touch. You can get in touch on social media. Interesting to see Angie Parra here, one of the riders that we see on social media, looking like she's just getting pulled into that pack once again. And great. What I like, Emma, is the constantly attacking riders, the riders who really enjoy the racing and have a bit more sort of joie de vivre. You know, they've got just got that little bit more fun in the racing, and I suppose that's probably my personal preference. I'm definitely a Tadej Pogacar man, not a Geraint Thomas. Sorry, G. Who I do know.
You mean you like an attacking, brave rider rather than someone who is measured and thoughtful?
Yes. That probably is fairly reflective of my character, actually, thinking about this, stood in the studio going, yeah, that's probably me all over, go like a lunatic, and sometimes it pays off big stars, occasionally it pays off, and most of the time you just get swallowed up by the cool, calm,
sometimes fortune favours the brave, other times it is the cool, calm head that wins the race. But Angie Parra is the one continuing to be off the front of this group at the moment. Jenny Sanchez is there as well, but taking a look at this, actually, do you know what? Parra's back in. It's Ribaldo who's flung the second slingshot off of this Category 2 race. So Ribaldo is the one working hard here at the moment. Jenny Sanchez is the rider leading the group behind, with Maria Carmona as well as Emma Embring. Now, these riders all around the world, and we can see that in the Category 2 race, the Category 3 race, and the Category 4 race. Take a look at those flags, giving you an indication of where our riders are located. Now, for those of you with eagle eyes, you will note that those flags also indicate different time zones. Our riders join us around the world at different times of the day. So for some of these riders, it is midnight. For the rest, it might be 8 a.m., 2 p.m. And we do know we have riders getting up in the middle of the night at around 4 a.m. to join us. So wherever you are around the world, thank you for being on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club and bringing us the racing today.
Indeed, and it is always great to put words to the action as we see Rebecca Gilson once again on the attack, looking to break clear, looking to break this group up to keep this racing active today. She's going to be looking to see who's going to answer as well. Part of pushing on is about seeing who is feeling strong, who are going to be your challengers. Quevedo again up near the front here. Dana Dega-Mashandi, another rider who knows the strengths of Gilson, as does the riders in there. Just seen Catherine Marion, one of the newer riders up there, but looks like Gonzalez Ruiz just trying to push on. Tobon, one of our newer riders, just again having to squeeze to get up there. You start to see just on the right hand side of your screen a few riders going in the red, but nobody wanting to commit too heavily to this chase. Really interesting.
Yeah, so for riders, Matt, who have not watched Sunday Race Club before and are joining us for the first time, tell us a little bit about those colours. So currently we've got Quevedo in purple and then Santiago in red. What is the meaning of those colours?
So if you've not watched before, the right-hand side of your screen, this is the board around the riders we are watching. So this shows us our time gap. So you can see the rider's position. At the moment we're in with Karut Quevedo, who's in 64 4th position, just yo-yoing around those mid-60s, just moving up through the bunches. That number goes down. You can see that she's kicking out sort of 4 watts per kilo, so that's the power to weight ratio, how far she's covered, and 0 time. That is her time, where she is relative to herself, basically in the same place as I would hope, not split personality. However, the riders around her are then at time gaps. So the riders who are ahead on the road are above, the riders who are behind are below her. And then there is a time gap from the rider in purple that we are watching on the screens to the rest of the riders now. Karut Quevedo is in the bunch, so there are no time gaps. And there is only a time gap when there is a gap. So Santiago 1 second up the road here. And you can see that the group in front, in fact, when we show the green here of Lopez, that is our Category 2 riders. Currently, the first rider in front is 1:32 in front. So a minute and a half in front is the riders from Category 2, one of our riders up there. So that tells you the time gaps. But you start to see yellow and red. Yellow and red, the easy way to think of this is going in the red zone. So when our riders are starting to kick, they're starting to increase their power. If they step up their power and they're squeezing on it or going to yellow, if they're putting in a really big sprint, or if they're going really into that red zone, they're pushing way into their limits, then you'll see it light up in red. So expect to see on the final climb, when it gets steep, lots of riders in red. Riders can only hold that for a certain length of time though, and that does vary from rider to rider, how long they can go into the red and how often they can do it and how long it takes to recover. So that's all on the right hand side. Loads of data on the MyWhoosh screens and lots of data for our riders to watch, as well as performing their race. Now some riders, that is brilliant because they can watch 6 things at once. It's one of the great things for our riders. Other riders, they just focus on doing their ride, push on and try and go off the front and sit at their pace on there, and then time trial their way in and through. And we see that in different riders' riding styles as well. And some people prefer to just ride solo and sit at their pace, but of course you're not taking advantage of the draft then necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And different courses suit different riders. So there is something for everybody on the Sunday Race Club, whether you are Category 1, 2, Category 4, whether you are a climber or a sprinter, there will be a course that suits you.
There will indeed. Now, Ella Vink looks like she's not going to be waiting around for the coffee delivery. She's going to be heading up the road. So she makes her way down here, clearly in a rush to get into the finish. And Ella Vink, one of our really strong riders, and great to see her racing on the championships, but racing in fact this week in the Tune Up Tuesday. Now there are 2 time zones each Tuesday that the race is on, so basically we'll tell you in GMT because that's really easy for everybody to work out which side of GMT they're on. Essentially at GMT it is either at 8 AM or 3 PM GMT, and Ella Vink was the second women's rider in Oceania.
Well, you know, so Vink performing more than once a week at the moment, and Rebecca Gilson is the rider performing here. Karut Quevedo is the rider covering her again. As we're seeing an attack now in this Category 1 race, Maria Santiago joining the 3 at the front and bringing everybody with her as the entire pack snowball over the top of Quevedo and Gilson. This is actually starting to light up and the fireworks are beginning in Category 1.
Well, here they go through that segment. This is about picking up the pace now. They've got to answer these attacks. We've seen attack after attack. Quevedo, 4th overall, mixed in, so it's men's and women's results. 4th in Tune Up Tuesday. Overall, first woman in the Oceania race on Tune Up Tuesday. She's absolutely flying. The Oceania and the European times are basically set. So the Oceania the first, and then the European the second on the Tune Up Tuesdays. And Quevedo showing that racing regularly really does work. Tune Up Tuesday by name, Tune Up Tuesday by nature, and Karut Quevedo showing she's got that pace.
Well, 29 women still in this leading group in the Category 1 race. It's a huge group of riders to take into the final climb, and it's being led still by Rebecca Gilson, setting the fastest time on segment number 4, a 1 kilometre segment at 1:39. Now Alzat, Marin, Moreno, Biarhead, Morales, Koinston, Rua, Molino, Estrada, Badaskaya and Engstrom rounding out the top 12, all within 1 second of each other, so indicating that large pack all moving together.
They are indeed, and the fastest riders through that segment as well are Category 1 riders, so they really are pushing on, living up to form. And look at the front of this group. We are seeing a massive push on here. They are really starting to stretch their legs, and it looks to me like they've decided that the best form of defense is offense, as we see going down the road Marin and LZ at the moment. So two of our riders making the way down here from Colombia, absolutely pushing. You see the red being kicked in here. They are looking to get a gap here as they go over the top of the climb and onto the flat section. This is stretching them out, and they've got about 4 or 5 seconds here, and they are starting to get the gap. Now they've just got to keep on squeezing here, get that gap, make the other riders work, because if you're constantly answering somebody else's pace, that is when you're going to get in trouble. You're using your energy inefficiently. If you're riding at your pace, even better. So these two riders on the front at the moment can set a pace, and they can make everybody else dance to their tune instead.
Yeah, and Catherine, Marin, and Maria Alzat, the two riders pushing on here. Take a look at that. They really have intention there at the moment, sitting around 5.7 watts per kilo coming out of the front there at the moment. They are continuing to push on. The gap now around 4 seconds back to the group, and taking a look back, there's not a strong push coming from the group, but the pace is now starting to wind up behind them, just dropping into the Category 2 race. This is the back of the Category 2 race, and these are the two riders, Lopez and Ochoa, who are about to be swept up by the leading two riders in the Category 1 race. Now let's see if Ochoa and Lopez try and stay with them. They're going to have to kick and kick hard, but I think those two Category 2 leaders are pushing too hard. Now look at this kick trying to come to try and stay with them, but they are moving far too fast trying to break away from the Category 1 race. But here come the pack. The pack are moving. Alessia Antico is leading the charge past these Category 2 riders. The pack is now moving fast and rolling through. Look at the stretch on this group.
It really has got pulled out, that attack, the answer, the chase down, and you could just see there are riders from Category 2 looking to pick up the pace and jump in with the riders, because the more riders around you, the easier it is. You can jump in with a group, but a bit unfortunate for Ochoa and co there, because they got caught when the pressure was on, and it might have been better to be caught when it wasn't quite so hot in Category 1, because that is a very, very spicy pace indeed.
Absolutely. Now, quite often we will see the back markers of our categories when the next race field catches them try to jump in and take a tow for as long as possible and utilize the draft effect, etc. But obviously it depends on what is happening in the race behind them. If it is a point of attack and a point of fast moving, or often perhaps on a climb or a downhill, those riders really struggle to jump in. If it is on a flat section, as we can pretty much see at the moment, Gonzalez has indeed settled comfortably into the middle of that Category 1 pack, utilizing the draft, currently only needing to do 2 watts per kilo, but she's now about to go off the back of that group as they progress and move forward.
And that's just when you push into the in deep, you're really working to stay with that group. Eventually you won't stay with them. That's when you then got to look for the next rider behind. You've got to start making sure that you've got somebody with you. This course is not one that suits going solo until you get to the final climb. You can break up the group, you can put damage into the riders, but the way that this course profile is, the real action all comes at the finale. Now, Category 4, they are at 24k nearly here, and the riders are looking good, but they still got a little distance to go to get to our climb. Remember, we had that first climb coming in. It kicked in at 4.3k and went on for 2.5k. But the business end of this course is all at the end of the race. The riders in between, well, they are looking to bring that group down. Now, I'm going to advise you, we are going to use an English word very frequently, I suspect, over the next few kilometres, which is the word whittling. I'm going to give you a quick description of this in case you haven't got an English dictionary to hand, because it is a word that we like a lot on the show here on MyWhoosh. And that is about whittling, is to knock little bits of wood off a piece of wood, little chips off it with a knife until you're left with the creation that you want that's left. So you take a little bit at a time to create the finished article. That is whittling, carving in wood, chipping little bits off at a time. So when we talk about that, you now know what we're going on about. Now, there's no whittling in this group because this big pack of riders are all still sticking together, Emma. They are absolutely moving, and interesting to see it's Cinelli who's got the fastest time there, but slightly more gaps in terms of timing through. That's reflected, that's a long stretch out through that segment, isn't it?
It is indeed, and 29 riders still in that group at the moment in category 1. A 1:32 there through segment number 5. That is our final 1 kilometre segment today. So the pace still moving. Now, one of the really interesting things to note, I think Coking has been on the attack through this section in category 3 because she has set the fastest time in category 3 by some mark. And category 4 were also moving through this segment quickly.
So really interesting to see all our race categories putting in lots of action, lots of racing between each other. And of course, the riders are really looking to push on now. In category 2 in the green, it is Jenny Sanchez who has the gap at the moment. Now, Sanchez is at nearly 20 kilometers of the 35k covered, and she's in that dip before it starts rising once again, and that means that she's soon going to find herself heading into a slightly draggy uphill section that will take her right the way up to what is going to be about 25k in. Then it's got a little rolling on the way in to the start of the main climb at 30k. So Jenny Sanchez at 20 kilometers nearly, and she knows what she's got coming up in front. All the riders able to look at the race manuals prior to the course being in front of them, and they will get this profile that you're seeing now. They can look at this and work out where they are. So Jenny Sanchez at 20k, so she's in that long flat dip prior to the green riding figure at 25k. That is where the riders pass back through their start point. So the riders go around that loop, around that lap there. So they've done a loop and then they're going to go back through at 25 back past the pens. But you can see she's in what is effectively the lowest point of the course. It is a long flat section. It then rises through that 25k marker to about 26, but then we've got a dip, a rise just before we hit the climb proper, and that is where the riders can put a little bit of pressure on even before they hit the climb. And if they ride it quickly, Emma, that could be a way of actually increasing the length of the effective length of the climb, which is really steppy, and this is going to be key. Tell us about the key sections on this climb.
Yeah, so the climb really is quite steppy, and it comes at 30.2 kilometres into this race. The checker flag at the 35 kilometre mark, and there are a number of very steep sections. So whilst it says the average gradient is 5.4%, you will see sections over 10% on this climb, and they are really the important ones. So you will see that first section of 2 steps, then we transition into an exceptionally steep kicker, and then we roll down and up, and then we have the main top part of the climb. The damage may well be done in that middle section, but it is going to be interesting to see, because I think we're going to come into the bottom of this climb with large packs in some of our races, and it's going to be interesting to see, with the quality of some of these race fields today, how long the packs remain.
And the riders, having looked at that profile, will be working out how they ride it. So where they expect it to be hard, where they expect it to be easy. Do you put all your effort in early? Do you put, say, some effort for later? We could see the top half of that climb was basically one long climb. So it's basically a climb of, you got the first steep little bit, then it's a steady climb, then you got the bumpy middle section, then you got that long climb at the top, and knowing where to put your effort in is going to be key.
Absolutely, and there is of course the trade-off. Do you attack early and get a gap and then try and maintain the gap, or do you reserve your energy and follow until the latter stages?
Now that's going to depend on our riders and what everybody else is doing as well, and around them the best laid plans of mice and men and all that can soon disappear. And there's so many phrases for it because it is such a truism. Now you can just see our category riders, category 1 riders going in at 20k. Our category 4 riders at the moment at 26.5 kilometers, and then we're saying we're going to bring big bunches in. Probably the smallest bunch is Category 2.
Well, and what's really interesting, Matt, is Category 1 are not very far now off Category 2, around 800 metres behind. So that Category 2 bunch will be seeing very shortly a very large Category 1 bunch join them, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they jump into that bunch to the bottom of the climb, or what takes place in the confusion of those two groups of catching.
And that's a really key moment, isn't it? The catch from Category 1 bunch to a Category 2 bunch, which has reasonable numbers of riders and riders who can still put out some seriously big watts. They can put out the power. They maybe can't do it for as long or when it's as steep, but we're not on a long section. We're not on a steep section. So it will depend on whether or not we've got an attack on, whether there's a push or whether it's eased off. Now, just seeing Gibson and Alzate, the two riders who are just in front of this main bunch, still being left dangling there at the moment. That gap not coming down. This is the group of Category 2 riders who are in front, who, if they looked in their rear view mirror or over their shoulder, now riders can do that because they can change the camera angle. They will see that behind Rebecca Gilson, she's at it again, and Alze again, the rider who is trying to go with her. Quevedo again, trying to answer this. Deca Mashandi, not all that far behind as well, but it looks to me like that bunch are not making too many inroads. Maria Alze and Karuk Quevedo seem to be some of the key chasers here.
Well,
and
Alza, an ex-pro rider, you know, Matt, from Colombia, so you would expect her to be able to do that chasing.
Well, as a professional, and having ridden as a professional, then you'll know all about putting that in. But you'll also, I'm sure, have a bit of confidence in what you can do and when you need to pull that out. And that racecraft, and I personally don't think it matters what discipline you're in. Racecraft is racecraft. If you learn that, it's not something you're born with. It's something that is learned, I think.
So it's a skill, isn't it?
It's a skill for sure. And I think anybody who's learned it once can learn it again.
I'm laughing because you're talking about learning it, because as a coach, I have regularly tried to do racecraft sessions with, how shall we say, teenage riders. And it is very, very interesting that when the red mist comes down in the race activity, try teaching a junior or a youth rider about racecraft and watching what's going on around them. But these are class Category 1 riders. They have got that racecraft nailed. They have got the ability to watch what's going on around them, to read the race, to think about their race, and to enact it. Karuk Quevedo is the one doing the chasing here. She is on form today, you know, Matt, and I think we are expecting good things from Quevedo because she is covering every move.
But she's having to do a lot of work alone. You see at the moment Morgan Olsen trying to get back across. Now, Quevedo has gone back into the group. Olsen has seen Quevedo coming back in, and she's now kicked back on to her. And they have to work together. They've got to get the timing right. Or work together, or don't work and just give up on getting them back, because you're going to have a consistent chase here. It's no good one rider or two riders. Alze making contact with Gilson, will give that extra little bit of impetus to the riders in front. And you can see this pack's moving quick. They're starting to sweep up riders who are a little bit further back in Category 4 at the moment, just coming sweeping in and through at the moment. You can just see Katarina Ruby just going back through that bunch there as this big group of Category 1 comes sweeping through. But they have to work. At the moment, this is not a group of 29 riders working together, or even 25 riders working together. I'd suggest this is a group of maybe 5 riders putting in the effort on the front, and the rest of the group are saving their energy.
Wow. That's a lot of riders keeping their powder dry for that final
or
climb
they might be
today.
on the limit. They might have had a really, really hard training week. I was out on the bike on Monday, and guess what? There were 60 hours I had to recover. It was crazy.
Well, these riders are not taking 60 hours to recover because they are now 500 metres away from that Category 2 front pack. Jenny Sanchez, Pilar Pena, Lisa Hermansen are the riders in that group with Angie Parra and Quintero. And they are about to see this group come to them from behind. Now we've still got a lone rider down the road. Gilson is still at the front there, and that gap is still evident at the moment, but this group are not chasing.
They're not. They are looking at this. I think there's two. I think there's Gilson and Alzate up there together. So they don't. If you come into the climb, you know that you're going to go in. They're also at 23.5k. They know that they've still got 6k to the climb, 6 kilometers. That is 6k where Rebecca Gilson and Maria Alzate are doing all of the work for the two of them. That's it. Gibson's just kicked on. She's just gone, you know what, I'm going for this, because I've just seen 9 watts per kilo come out. So that is 9 watts for every kilo of body weight that Rebecca Gilson has going down the road at the moment. That is well over 450 watts. In fact, it was nearer 600 plus watts as she went down the road there. Gilson is going to have to do this on her own. Alzate at the moment is able to get across and hold the pace, but when Gilson puts in a big kick, she's not going with her. Really, really interesting.
It is indeed. So Alzate and Gilson, the two riders away, and Gilson kicking on there, kicking on at 5 watts per kilo at the moment, leading this Category 1 race.
So let's keep an eye on what Gilson gets up to. So you can just see Alzate here just squeezing on. We were just watching Gilson there and just squeezing, and her pace isn't that much higher than Alzate's when they're together, but I think she wants to keep pushing. Meanwhile, look at Quevedo again. Now, Emma, I think you were dead right here. Quevedo is definitely a rider to watch. Now, Alzate needs to see Quevedo come in and jump on with her here, because the two of them, if they push, they'll go through. And it's going to be really interesting to look at the splits as they come through
well,
here.
For my money, Matt, this is Quevedo's type of climb. We know Quevedo has got phenomenal top end power, and that she can kick, sit, kick, sit, kick, sit. And with this kicker style climb at the end today, this is the type of course Quevedo may well target.
Well, if I was Quevedo, this would definitely be my style of climb. I got to agree with you, that power, her top end power. I mean, we see 15 watts per kilo coming out of her regularly.
She's an ex-world champion skater.
Okay.
She's won the World Championship 7 times. And, you know, that power of skaters, a lot of skaters we see transition into cycling. And that power that they have and that kick of that power absolutely transitions to phenomenal sprinting.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, absolutely storming power. And it is that kick. But you've got to be able to use that, and you've got to look where you use it, and she's going to look to that course and gone amazing. Meanwhile, Gilson has gone through the group of Category 2, and at the moment there is an absolutely mad scramble to get onto the wheels of Gilson. You just saw that group just stretch out in a long line as everybody went, hang on a minute, this is where we need to be, because if we can sit on the wheel, which they should in theory be able to do for a little while, unless Gilson kicks again, they are going to be able to jump on board and use this tow, but they've got to be with this. So this is going to be race-style effort. They're going to have to be pushing on here really hard. Gilson, I think, is just taking a little bit of a breather. I think that was the target. Get with this group and then use them for a little bit of a breather. Yep. But at the moment, they're using Gilson, not the other way around.
Oh, I agree completely. I think the target of Gilson was this group. She's now in this group and comfortably in this group. She's dropped back to around 3.5 watts per kilo from 5. So she is indeed taking a little recovery here with this group, maybe before she pushes on again. But that 26 kilometers, you know, they are still 4K out from the climb today. Quevedo now seeing the back of that group up ahead. They're 5 seconds up the road. Alzate and Quevedo are together. They are now 10 seconds clear of the chasing group. Gonzalez, Sanchez, Santiago, Van der Velden, all in that chasing group. So these two riders are chasing Gilson. Gilson in that pack up ahead. We may soon see 3 riders away together from this Category 1 race field.
Oh, that's going to be really interesting, isn't it? Because Quevedo's push with Alzate is going to bring into this group. And now this is a big pack. This group has got to be approaching the size of the riders behind. But the moment that they get there, look at this. We've just seen another push back on to the front once again. Gilson's seen them come and said, right, if you're with us, let's go. Let's get on with this and let's go for it.
Yeah, but take a look who's down the road. It is Jenny Sanchez, the Category 2 rider. She's 16 seconds clear of this group. So Sanchez is now going to be watching because Quevedo, Gilson and Alzat may well be bringing second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth
the rest
back to her wheel. So all of that work that she has done, I think Jenny Sanchez is going to be watching this very, very closely.
Yeah, she's going to be hoping that Quevedo and co all push through without hanging on. Meanwhile, behind, look at the chase. They've realized the danger. They are aware and they are pushing. There are some seriously big numbers. They're on a slight climb here, and this is going to be to their advantage. So it looks to me like the group have finally decided, look, we can't let them go any further. They've got together. They've got some assistance. We're going to have to push. They've waited and waited. They've been very careful. Now they are going for this, and they are looking to pull this back. And you know what? I think they're going to come up pretty quickly here if they can continue this pace and keep together, keep this momentum. So at the moment they are pushing, Quevedo starting to detach herself from the big group of Category 2 riders, but that group of Category 2 riders are in the sights of the Category 1 riders as well.
I know it is all getting exciting here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We've got Category 1 catching Category 2. We've got the battle not just for the Category 1 race, but the battle for the Category 2 race, and it is all mixed together as we see Quevedo sprint effort coming out of Quevedo to try and catch Gilson, who's gone down the road. Now if these two riders can get clear, Alzat is coming up as well, a 7.2 watts per kilo kick as they come together. Quevedo takes a bit of a breather, but Gilson is there now. So this group of 3 Category 1 riders were clear of the Category 2 riders, but they have pushed on because Ribaldo was not wanting to let them go.
I tell you what, Ribaldo's got some serious skills because she's very smart in how she rides and where she puts her effort in, and she's very attentive to those riders in front. A rider who moved up herself from, I think, from Category 3 to Category 2. Really interesting to see. And if you look at the gap behind, that time gap, I think Emery's coming down.
Well, they've pulled back Jenny Sanchez as well. So Category 2 all coming back together again. I told you Sanchez would be keeping an eye on this, and she won't be happy that those Category 1 riders have pulled this group back. But take a look behind. It's only, what is it now? 3 seconds back to the chasing Category 1 group.
And here they come. This is the big train on their way into the group. Geraldo Arias, the first of the riders to make contact with that Category 2 group. She goes straight over the top and gets herself firmly ensconced in there. So Alzat, Quevedo, all in this group. Gilson in here. This is now one big pack of riders, and you can see the Category 1 riders mobbing the way through, pushing on, but Category 2 are sitting in there, and this is a place to do it on the descent down here, because this is when the draft effect has the most benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take a look at this. So on the right-hand side of your screen, these are the leaders on the road at the moment at 32.52 kilometers. They are well and truly on that final climb, and their wheels are pointing skywards. It's Litton, Pulgarin and Ospina, with Holweller and Dalasay behind. In fact, Holweller just 2 seconds off of this pace at the moment. So whilst the action behind is Category 1 and Category 2, there is action in this Category 4 race as 3 riders are now clear at the front.
And they have a chase behind from Holweiler, then it's Dalasay, then Vink, then Carolina Alzat in there. So looks like a real battle as we see the Category 3 come onto the climb, and this is blowing apart. You saw your screen light up with red there as we see Pablo on the front at the moment leading this out. She's got company, and these groups are reforming once again. They're splitting and reforming under the pressure as we go onto this climb. Look at the red on that screen. It's lighting up. The whole thing is response. It's kick and response here as these riders dig deep. They know that we don't want to get distance, and you can see that amazing profile on the top right hand side of your screen. You can see that white line above the green indicator where the riders are. This shows you that they have got push after push still to come. And remember, that's only the first half of the climb.
Well, and take a look now. The downhill and flatter sections allows the group to concertina and come back in, Matt, because the group has the momentum on those parts. And you can see whilst those lone riders attacked and made the difference on the climb, the group has come back together on the downhill and flat section. Now they climb again.
So plenty of riding to do, plenty of ascent for our riders in all our categories. In category 1 and 2, that huge pack of riders, they are approaching the base of the climb. They are hitting 30 kilometers. They know it's not going to be long before they point skywards as well.
Well, the only way is up.
Oh, I tell you something, I'm going to buy Emma a Yaz and the Plastic Population vinyl record. The only way is up. In fact, Emma's smiling on the other side of the studio at the thought of that. You can hang it up behind your chair in the studio, Emma.
I sadly am remembering teenage holidays.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
I
Oops,
know.
I didn't say that, did I? Right, on to the climb. Probably going to take this long to get up. This is Yaz and the Plastic Population ×3, be the 10-inch version. For some of our riders, some of them, they'll be the album version, but some of these are going to make it to their greatest hits. Who's going to get to the top in position number 1? And who is going to be an also-ran? Time to find out. We've seen the skirmishes. We've seen the forays off the front by the riders like Gilson, like Alzaid, the chase by Cavedo. But who has kept their powder dry? Who has got something up their sleeve? Who has been waiting for the moment for the tarmac to turn skywards? Well, we're going to find out. Look at the stretch coming now as these riders attack. Sanchez put in a big move in here, but the very front of the race is held by Rebecca Gilson here. So Estrada now coming up alongside and over the top. So with the yellow helmet on there and the yellow socks, it is going to be a Rosario Estrada, a rider who is always strong when she's on the climb. Then it's Gilson in the black shoes, black helmet, just trying to chase here. The rider we are in with just down that dip, using that momentum to carry her pace up. And she's onto the wheel of Estrada. Estrada's kicking, but Gilson's going over the top of her here. Now comes Santiago, and Fua is on the way up here as well. Look at the amount of riders pushing into the red. Tobin's doing exactly the same here. And they're all trying to hang on to the front of this group. Nobody wants to lose ground now. And this is all about getting that kick in here. Interestingly, Liliana Moreno in this group, another rider who we know is just waiting for the right moment. She's bound to be due a win very shortly, I'm sure. Will today be the day? It's going to be a big ask. We've got Valdez in here as well. We've seen nothing of Valdez on the front until we've hit this climb. She was absolutely flying last week.
Well, absolutely, and this is still a large group, you know, Matt. They're all together over a kilometre now into this climb. They've gone up and over the first section. The stretch is on the road, but the quality of this race field today means this pack is still all pushing hard as they come round this right-hand bend. It is steep. It's at 9% at the moment and heading up to 10 as they go round this corner. The push is really coming on the front here. Can they sustain this pace?
Oh, how long can they sustain it? I think it's going to be the big question, isn't it? Can they? Yes. How long? Not that long, surely, because this is absolutely digging in deep. You can see the screen pretty much full of red, and that is because all these riders are having to find something extra. They're having to put in extra power, get the kick in, and to continue onwards as Maria Santiago is the rider leading them up here. So with the red glasses on, no gloves, white shoes, red glasses, black helmet. That is Maria Santiago on the front of the group. Solo Gilson behind, looking to continue to push. Gerardo Arias in there, I think, is the blue cap. They are the riders in category 1 on the way up, being led by Santiago. Meanwhile, the very front of the race is at 34.13 kilometers. Remember, this is 35k in total, so they're into the last kilometer here. Litton, Bulgarin, and Ospina are the riders on the leaderboard at the very top here. Ospina having to chase to get back on, and Ospina just making contact as they go on to the wooden bridge here. So we have got just over 500 meters, in fact 700 meters, sorry, for the riders in category 4. That means they've got to get up and over the bridge. Meanwhile, category 1, they're at 32k, with Santiago opening a gap of 3 seconds on Gerardo Reyes. Estrada a little bit further back. Quevedo is in there, and Gilson is still sat in there. How late can they leave it? How much room can they give Santiago on this climb? Remember, there are prizes for the top 5 riders only. There's a lot more than 5 riders in contention for those prizes. They're going to have to push now. Gerardo Reyes with that blue cap, the trademark blue cap in there, looking to hold this group at the moment. Now she goes. She's kicking in deep here. She's moved up through the group, but there's another big push coming, and I think we're going to see Quevedo work her way up through with Gilson. Now, just watching them go. Gilson, the leading chaser at the moment, behind Santiago. It's 3 seconds on the road at the moment between them. This is going to be incredibly close.
Yeah, well, it is indeed incredibly close. We talked about the quality of this race field. These category 1 women are neck and neck and absolutely fighting hard. So as we just switch from the category 1 race to the category 3 race, we can see them further up this climb. They're coming into that final long section. We've got 3 riders at the front of this race all together. So we have them pushing on and pushing into this tunnel. It is Virga Agudelo leading it from Marin, but we've got another rider just coming onto the front, and that's Jose Gallego just joining this group. So now 4 riders at the front of the category 3 race, but at the front of the category 4 race, it's Bulgarin and Lytton. Ospina is 1 second behind. 3 riders, 300 meters to go.
So here we go. It is qualifier number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We have our riders, 3 riders in contention. As Emma said, 300 meters to go. But Ospina now losing the ground. You can see her behind these 2 on the front at the moment. This is Brittany Lytton. Lytton at the moment leading out Bulgarin. Nothing to choose between them. Bulgarin just digging in, but look at Lytton. Another extra squeeze here. This finish is really tricky. Right-hand turn. It dips within a slight kicker. It gets it really tough. This finish, it is not easy to spot. You've got to get your kick right, and you've got to go early enough here. Now, Lytton has 5 seconds on Ospina, and I think it means that it's Lytton and Bulgarin who are going to be fighting this out. Now they're starting to wind this up. You can see the yellow gantry coming up in front of them. That's the dip. This is the rise. Bulgarin's leading this out. Bulgarin is putting an extra big kick. She's going to make it. Bulgarin takes it. It's victory for Fernanda Bulgarin in category 4. Brittany Lytton in 2nd. It's going to be Estela Ospina in 3rd. Tanya Howeiler will have to hold off Carolina Alzate in the battle for 4th and 5th places. But what a race in our category 4. And what a finish by Fernanda Bulgarin. So strong there.
Well, absolutely in that category 4 race. But in this category 1 race, we've got Gilson doing the chasing at the moment. Maria Santiago is the rider up the road. Gilson chasing and chasing hard. Geraldo Reyes, Moreno and Maria Alzat are the riders chasing hard behind. There is still a number of women in contention in this category 1 race. We have just over 1.2 kilometers to go.
So we have seen category 4 finish. We're going to see category 3 into that finish, I'm sure, and category 2, but we're focusing at the moment on category 1. They are the fastest riders on course. It is Maria Santiago who's leading, and Liliana Moreno is chasing hard behind. You can just see as they came through segment 7, Santiago had the fastest time. So this is from 30.2 to 33.7. So basically the first 2/3 of the climb. Santiago the fastest, then Gilson, then Gerardo Reyes, then Moreno, followed by Alzate and Quevedo. Berrio Serna put a great ride in there in 7th place. Estrada in 8th. But this is, of course, just that segment, and it gives an indication of who is in the fight. Gilson at the moment is pushing, and it looks like Santiago is pulled in and through, so it is Gilson leading. Then behind is that chasing group. This is going to be tight, isn't it, Emma? We've got, what, 950 meters, 900 meters to go.
And 5 riders in contention now. Gilson pushing on here. I know Gilson has got a little bit of range going here because I can see her heart rate and I know where she pops. So Gilson here, Quevedo in 2, Geraldo Ares is here, so is Moreno and Santiago. In fact, it's Moreno and Santiago just a couple of seconds back. Alzat now looks as though that she is out of this, but maybe not, as we see 6 riders crossing the bridge at the moment. They are coming up for 700 meters to go.
And remember, we go up along this long curving bridge. We then take this sweeping left-hand bend. It turns into a tight right, and then we're on the finishing line. Gilson really pushing on hard here. Rebecca Gilson is going to get caught, though, and she's caught by Liliana Moreno, and Karut Quevedo is not far behind.
Wow.
So Gilson with those pink gloves really pushing.
And Moreno, I tell you what, she's got form historically. 2020, she was riding for Astana, and she rode the Women's Giro d'Italia. So we know she is a class rider, but Rebecca Gilson can give as good as she gets, and she seriously knows how to ride this platform. Quevedo is here, so is Santiago. Geraldo Ares is not out of this yet. As they come round this sweeping left-hand bend, they are coming up for 400 meters to go.
So this is it, 400 meters. Who's going to take this out? It's that left-hand bend. Rebecca Gilson, Santiago in here, Moreno in here, Geraldo Arias. 4 riders in this mix, maybe 5 if you're really lucky, but it's starting to go, and Gilson kicks again. Now at 8 watts per kilo. She's still got the power there, so she has gone off the front, and the rest are responding. Now comes Santiago. Santiago comes through, but it's going to be Moreno with the white helmet who's there. But look at that kick from behind. You just seen a push over the top there, and it looks like Moreno is trying to get there, but once again another big kick, and this time it is going to be Quevedo who has gone clear on the front. It's Karut Quevedo who has got the gap. We said she needed to be watched out for. She was Emma's tip for the top. Well, she's going to be on the top step at the podium, or is she? It's last minute kick. Oh, it's so tight. Was that Santiago who came up? It was. Maria Santiago may well have rolled her on the line there. What a finish. Now Geraldo Ares is going to come through. This is going to be 4th, if not 5th place on the way through. Can't wait to see these results coming in. As Rosario Estrada in her own private battle, she's got Berry Serna not all that far behind her. This is so close. What great racing here on MyWhoosh as we see Rosario Estrada come in through the finishing line. Remember, guys, all the results at the moment unofficial. They are live, and it is Maria Santiago who is given that by 0.265 of a second from Karut Quevedo, who must have thought she had that, from Rebecca Gilson in 3rd, Liliana Moreno in 4th, and it is Geraldo Ares in 5th. What riding by our top 5 there, and all of our riders who have raced today. I mean, that was some racing.
That was phenomenal. Skin of the teeth, skin of a tyre. Absolutely, Quevedo thought she had that, but Santiago, that kick just came. The timing was phenomenal.
It was indeed, and just reward for that really aggressive riding. Great to see more of our riders all mixing it up at the front of the races in all of our categories 4, 3, 2, and 1. Don't forget, this has been Qualifier Race number 3 of 3. Next week will be our finals. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action. Now, I'm not going to be here next week. It will be Emma taking you through the action. I am on World Cup duty for the UCI, which means that Emma will get the pleasure of calling all of our finals. I hope you're going to join her for that. In between, we're going to have the men's race coming up very shortly. Emma, if people want to find you in between, where can they find you?
Oh, get hold of me at Biking Emma on Instagram. I would love to hear from you.
And don't forget, you can get hold of me and see what we've been up to at Matt Fixpain, and you can follow Emma and I on Full Speed Events. Please make sure that you tag in MyWhoosh. It is at MyWhoosh across all the social media, my_whoosh on Twitter. And of course, get signed up, jump on, ride the Tune Up Tuesdays, get riding on the platform. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.